Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Lori Johnson. There's growing concern about the threat posed by the terrorist group ISIS and a warning that it could launch a 9/11 style attack right here at home. Heather Sells reports on U.S. efforts to contain the danger.
Government officials are deeply concerned about the threat that ISIS poses in the U.S. and that it's getting worse. The deadly assault on a cartoon exhibit in Texas last weekend has only heightened the alarm. And now a top CIA veteran is warning it's only a matter of time before the jihadist group will launch a 9/11 style attack on American soil. If we don't get ISIS under control, we're going to see that kind of attack, said Michael Morell in a USA Today interview. Homeland Security Chief Jay Johnson says Americans should continue to go to public events, but at the same time, be vigilant. The Pentagon, meanwhile, has ordered U.S. military bases to upgrade their force protection condition status because of concerns about ISIS. Public officials say one reason ISIS poses such a threat is because of its smart use of social media.
We're very definitely in a new environment because of ISIL's effective use of social media, the internet, which has the ability to reach into the homeland and possibly inspire others.
The top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee says the U.S. should not underestimate this social media power.
I think it is kill, kill, kill. And it is putting the lone wolf in a position that's never happened before, that has never been in before. And that is, you do it and we take credit for it.
And some lawmakers are also concerned that a recent ruling against the National Security Agency and its collection of phone records hurts our ability to counter ISIS.
Well, it's real simple. That turns us back to pre-9/11.
Public officials say the restrictions on phone record collections, combined with the internet and lone wolf actors, means an ISIS-inspired attack could come quickly. That's why vigilance is key for both law enforcement and the public. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Another terrorism-related arrest in Australia, a 17-year-old boy taken into custody this weekend after police found 3 homemade bombs in his home in Melbourne.
These are extremely serious offences and they did involve the use of improvised explosive devices. Had we not intervened, there was a real threat of action being taken.
We know that we face a very serious terror threat, a very serious terror.
In this latest case, the suspect is the son of a Syrian-born doctor. He's been charged with planning a terrorist attack and with possessing items connected with terrorism. That makes him the 23rd person to be charged in counter-terrorism raids since September. Last month, 5 Australian teens were arrested, accused of plotting an Islamic State-inspired terrorist attack on a Veterans Day ceremony, also in Melbourne. Well, wild weather struck many parts of the country over the weekend with terrifying tornadoes from Iowa to Texas.
There goes the school! There goes the school!
That severe storm struck in Lake City, Iowa, and in the small town of Van, Texas, about 70 miles from Dallas, what appears to have been a tornado injured about 24 people last night, destroying homes and downing trees. A triage area was established at a church before the injured were taken to a nearby hospital. Folks are still going door to door to see if there are any more injured. And in South Dakota, 9 people were injured in one town, and a church was destroyed Sunday morning while members were gathered for Sunday school.
Keep it together and not get scared because there's a lot of kids.
We huddled in the basement in the bathroom and we huddled down, we held on our knees, we said the Lord's Prayer, and we felt the pressure and you could hear the bricks falling and we knew it wasn't good.
And if you can believe it, a spring snowstorm in Colorado. As much as 8 inches of snow fell in and around Denver yesterday. Many tree limbs snapped under the weight of it. The U.S. is defending its human rights record before the UN Security Council. Recent incidents of police officers killing unarmed black men have stirred debate about the fairness in our justice system. A Justice Department official says he's proud of America's record, but admits we're not perfect. He said the recent events challenge law enforcement officials to improve relations with the black community and to change some procedures. This is the second time the Security Council has held hearings on human rights in the U.S. Officials in China's Zhejiang province are stepping up their war against crosses on church buildings. They've already removed crosses from more than 400 Protestant and Catholic churches since 2014. That has led to violence between police and church members. Now, officials are proposing an ordinance banning churches from putting crosses on top of their sanctuaries. Instead, they must be attached to the facade of the building and be no more than 1/10 of the facade's height. Officials say the crosses violate building codes. Chinese Christians say the growth of Christianity is making the government nervous. Some are calling it genocide. From Kenya to Syria to Pakistan, Muslim fanatics are slaughtering Christians. While Western governments have been slow to respond, activists are answering the call. Eric Stakelbeck recently spoke to a nun who's on a dangerous mission to help persecuted Christians.
The Islamic terror group ISIS is leaving a trail of destruction across large parts of Syria and Iraq, with a specific target in its crosshairs.
Hundreds of thousands of Christians have been displaced from their homes, and countless others have been murdered or enslaved by the jihadist armies of ISIS, with no end in sight.
Sister Hatun Dogan has been on the ground and witnessed the devastation of these ancient Christian communities. She's listened to survivors tell how Christian and Yazidi women are being sold into sex slavery.
They choose the most beautiful one, even if they have small child, and they sell these girls, these ladies, to each other. They don't sell to another religion, only to Sunni Muslim. They think there are 12,000 kidnapped in the hand of the ISIS Yazidi alone. What is going on there, what I was hearing, is the highest barbarism on the earth in the history till today.
Her foundation helps the poor and persecuted in 35 countries, providing them with food, clothing, medicine, and shelter. She travels constantly, with a special focus on the Muslim world. The rise of ISIS has frequently brought her to Syria and Iraq to help the region's beleaguered Christian minority.
I'm coming here not for holiday. I'm coming here because I like to bring the voice of the voiceless, that the world hear their voice. They don't have voice more. I am the channel for them. That is my mission.
Sister Hatun is no stranger to Islamic persecution. As a young girl, threats from local Muslims forced her family to leave their home in Turkey. They relocated to Germany, where she operates her foundation and sounds the alarm about the gathering Islamic storm.
The mission of Baghdadi, of the ISIS, is to complete the world to Islam religion and to bring them to Dar es Salaam, they call that. And Islam is not peace, please. And who says ISIS has not with Islam in connection or something like this, it's not true, he's liar. ISIS is Islam, Islam is ISIS.
She's disappointed by what she calls a weak reaction from the West.
We know according to the Quran, no democracy. Till these verses, no democracy. Islam democracy is opposite, like black and white. And that I hope that America will understand. America has today the power that they can stop this disaster on the earth with another Western country.
As for Sister Hatun, she says she'll keep calling attention to the plight of followers of Jesus around the world, whether the West wants to hear it or not. Eric Stakelbeck, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, she says she was punished for standing up for her Christian faith. Can professors really tell their students to deny the existence of God? Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush is condemning the Obama administration for what he calls coercive federal power to stifle religious freedom. That was part of his message during his commencement address at Liberty University this past weekend. The Republican presidential prospect blasted the Obama administration for demanding obedience in complete disregard of a religious conscience. He also demanded that the United States defend persecuted Jews as well as Christians around the world. Bush has not yet declared his bid for the White House in 2016. In Winter Haven, Florida, a Christian student at Polk State College says a professor gave her failing grades because she wouldn't criticize her faith. Humanities professor Lance L.J. Russum allegedly assigned students to write papers forcing them to deny the existence of God and agree that Christianity oppresses women. When the student wrote papers contesting the professor's point of view, she was giving a failing grade on those assignments. For more on this case, Ephraim Graham recently spoke with Caleb Bonham, editor-in-chief of CampusReform.org, a watchdog group that exposes bias and abuse on college campuses.
The professor, L.J. Russum, he is a self-proclaimed atheist, Marxist, feminist professor who teaches this humanities course in Florida. And he assigned to his students 15 essays for the class. And in the case of these 4 essays, he required that students sort of argue anti-Christian perspectives regarding a variety of different topics. But the 2 that stood out to this young student whistleblower that came to the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform was really upset that in the course outline, the professor tried to make political points saying that Jesus is a myth in the same line as Hercules and Apollo, and that all religions are the product of human imagination. And she was required to go along with that. She couldn't argue against any of that. She couldn't argue against, as one of the assignments indicated, the idea that Martin Luther's work in reforming the entire church was of divine providence, but instead a result of humanism. And so when the young girl, a 16-year-old, we're talking about a advanced placed student, said, no, I'm going to stand up for my faith. I'm going to stand up for my belief in Jesus Christ, and instead argue against this leftist professor, he failed her on 4 class assignments, giving her a 0 on all of those essays.
Yeah, unbelievable. You know, failing a student for disagreeing with the professor seems to go against the principles of higher education. What's going on?
Well, that's the issue that we're talking about here. We're talking about anti-Christian, I think, open and critical thought that's going on campus. Academia is supposed to be a place where you open up dialogue, where you allow for critical thinking. And in fact, this course curriculum indicated just that. He said that we want students to take alternative perspectives. We don't want students to have to feel like they agree with the professor, and that the professor is going to act as a devil's advocate, challenging the students to learn more. But when the student in fact did stand up to the professor, it has later come out she was on a 3-hour phone call with him, arguing a lot of these positions. So it's not as if she didn't work hard. It's not as if she didn't indicate that she cared deeply about the assignment. She was failed for political reasons, and because that she didn't bow down to his position as a professor. We need to work on campuses, as we are doing at Campus Reform, to open dialogue and allow for free thought.
How has the school responded to this student's complaint?
Well, what the school has done is they've claimed that they've had a series of, I think, 4 people review the content, review the students' submissions, and they said that they actually found no bias, that they found nothing wrong with the professor's assignments. And that is an important thing, because the professor is truly granted academic freedom. It's okay. If the professor wants to challenge students in a manner that they may not be used to, for instance, come out and say, I want you to challenge your belief in Christ, that's perfectly fine. The problem is that if somebody stands up and he may not want to acknowledge religion in Martin Luther or divine providence in Martin Luther, or he may want to bash Christianity, but he needs to allow for a student that wants to support Christianity on campus. And he didn't do that in this situation. What Mike Adams, the professor that we talked with at Campus Reform, is calling for is an independent investigation, and that's something the university is not providing at this point.
Up next, she only had a 10% chance of making it to her first birthday, but just look at her now. Rick Santorum and his wife Karen talk about the blessing of their daughter Bella when we come back. The doctors had bad news for former Senator Rick Santorum and his wife Karen in 2008. Their newborn girl had a rare condition and she wasn't expected to live very long. But 6-year-old Bella has proven the doctors were wrong. David Brody brings us her story of hope and love.
This is a story of hope, love, and the belief that every person matters. At the center, 6-year-old Bella and her gift, a gift to the entire Santorum family.
What is Bella all about?
Oh, she is all about love, massive amounts of love and joy.
Along with massive health problems, Bella was born with trisomy 18, a rare genetic condition. Only 10% of babies survive, and of those survivors, only 10% make it to their first birthday. Doctors told Rick and Karen Santorum that Bella's condition was, quote, incompatible with life. Someone tell that to Bella, because she turns 7 next month.
Rick, just before the camera started rolling and just you with her, it was her smile that brought the smile to you.
Are you gonna smile for everybody? Are you gonna smile for everybody? Yeah. You're gonna smile for your daddy, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
When you see that smile, I mean, what does it do for you? What's the heart for you on that?
She is, she's just this beautiful, vulnerable, dependent, and she's completely dependent upon us.
The Santorums have written a deeply personal book about their journey of caring for a special needs child. Along the way, Bella taught all of them some very special lessons. The book is called Bella's Gift.
She's taught so many people how to love better, how to love and serve Christ better, how to live in the moment, how to treasure each and every day, how to focus on what's most important in life, and to celebrate each and every life. She reminds us that every person matters. And we say she's a great teacher of souls, because she really is.
One lesson went to their oldest daughter, Elizabeth, who initially struggled with the thought of losing a relationship with a younger sister.
Bella taught me that love isn't about what someone can do for you. It's about giving to the beloved. It's about selflessness. I remember holding her for the first time, and all this was sort of internal at that point. And I really saw vulnerability, you know? And I thought, gosh, that is how my Lord looks at me. He sees all of us as vulnerable, as totally unable to do anything without him or his love. And Bella's looking at me right that and said, just love me.
And boy, is she loved, not just by her family, but by people she's never met. During Rick's 2012 presidential campaign, supporters came to rallies with Bella signs. Still, the family felt a desperate need, and help came from leaning on the Lord and His Word, especially the 23rd Psalm.
It's such a powerful image, because when any parent gets a bad diagnosis, it's crushing and it's heartbreaking and it's a very hard and emotional time. And the beautiful thing is when you have our Lord there and you're going through a really hard time, it's the most beautiful thing to know that He's there with you, bringing you through out of that dark valley and giving you the strength for the journey.
And they needed that strength, especially for their marriage. Many couples with special needs children end up divorced.
You have moments where you may feel differently about care, decisions, where to go, what hospital to go to, lots of different things. But in the end, you forgive, you heal, and you know that you're in this together.
Here's this little vessel that Christ sent to us to teach us what He's trying to teach us, which is to give of yourself fully and completely, not just to this little girl, but to each other in marriage, because that's what marriage is about. It's about selfless love. The reason marriages break up in America is because we go in there with the expectation that marriage is about what's for you, as opposed to what you can give, as opposed to what you can receive.
The Santorums hope this book helps other parents with special needs children to let them know it's going to be okay.
You've been thrown into a sea of confusion, a real heartbreak, but I promise you it will get better. You have more strength than you think, and you take one day at a time. Sometimes you're just literally living moment to moment.
And the Santorums thank God for that strength, patience, and knowledge that their little girl was worth it all.
His plan, as unwelcome as it can be, is in fact the perfect plan. And I'd say that Bella was unwelcome. I didn't want a child with trisomy 18. But if you ask Karen and I today whether we would trade Bella for any child, we've absolutely not.
David Brody, CBN News.
2 weeks after the earthquake in Nepal, countless people are struggling without basic necessities. The rainy season has just begun, and many people are sleeping outside or in makeshift tents. That's why CBN is there, providing food, shelter, and medical care to those who need it most.
In the villages on the outskirts of Kathmandu, some homes are barely standing on their own. Others look livable from a distance, but the cracks in their walls show they could crumble at any moment. Open fields have become tent villages. Ratnamaya showed us the makeshift tent her family put together with advertising signs and any other piece of plastic or cloth they could find.
When it rains, the water comes in everywhere. All we can do is sit up together and try to stay out of the rain.
Living like this is taking a toll on Neha, Ratnamaya's granddaughter.
She started coughing and seems to be getting sicker each day. We don't have a good tent and we don't have enough blankets.
Close by, CBN set up a distribution center where hundreds came to get bags of rice and other necessities. As CBN teams delivered supplies to families further out, we gathered up everything Ratnamaya's family needed and took it right to her.
It will be so nice to have a good tent and enough blankets. When it is cold and raining outside, we will be dry and warm inside.
We found out Neha had had a fever for 5 days, so we made sure she got to the medical clinic we had set up in the village. After seeing one of our doctors and stopping at our field pharmacy, Neha had the medicine she needed to recover quickly.
Thank you so much for all you have done to help us. My granddaughter will get well and we have everything we need.
You can learn more about what CBN is doing around the world by logging on to cbn.com/international. Well, that's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com and also on Facebook and Twitter. We hope you'll join us again next time. Have a great day, everyone.